Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Tuesday, the 2nd of November. With Robert Murray McShane, today we read two chapters, the one being the second book of Kings, chapter 15, and then Paul's letter to Titus, the first chapter. And there's a link in my mind anyway. In 2 Kings 15, we have a long list of kings of Israel. And so we have in verse 8, in the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel in Samaria, and he reigned for 6 months. He was assassinated by Shallum, who then became king, and he ruled for 1 month. He was deposed by Menahem, and we're told Menahem reigned in Samaria for 10 years. Menahem was then replaced by Pekahiah, who reigned for 2 years, and Pekahiah was replaced by Pekah, who did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and he reigned for 20 years. And you have this long, quick succession of kings reigning for relatively short periods of time. All of them doing evil in the eyes of the Lord, and you have a sense of the unsettledness of the nation, that when you have that rapid changeover, nothing really settles down and there's constant uncertainty. And then as Paul writes to Titus, I was struck by the 5th verse, and he says to him, "The reason I left you in Crete was that you might put in order what was left unfinished and appoint elders in every town as I directed you." And I was struck by that you might put in order what was left unfinished. So when Paul left Crete, one might almost like to say there's a bit of a mess as he got chased out of the city and moved on. And poor Titus then put everything back together again and brought some order and appointed elders and got things running smoothly. And I certainly think Paul goes in and he ministers and appoints elders, and he leaves a smooth running, well organized, perfectly structured church. But apparently that was not the case. And for me that was an encouragement, because that's how life is. And well, certainly my life, that you do things and it doesn't quite work out, and you're busy with this and something else starts, and this hasn't quite been finished and this isn't properly organized, but you have to do it anyway. And you seem to be going from one king to the next king to the next king, and it's all just on a roll. And yet God is still there, and God is still in control. And God was still directing the history of Israel and overseeing the people and working his purposes out. Likewise in the New Testament, Paul left Crete. It wasn't organized. There was unfinished business, but God saw to it that the right people came into place to tie up the loose ends, to get the next stage done. And no doubt when Titus reached the end of his ministry, there were more loose ends that still needed to be dealt with. And so as you go through life, we're tempted to think we have to have everything neatly packaged, wrapped up and sealed in a little box before we can move on to the next item. It'd be wonderful if we could do that, but so often we can't. And we mustn't be discouraged when life is just a little bit messy, because my life is often like that. And certainly, so I look around the world and you see that time and time again. So if that's your experience, be encouraged that even in that unsettledness, God is there with you, and his purposes will still prevail. And that we can trust on. Be blessed.